Hello, resident homoerotica fan here, and it's been a while since we talked about God's greatest creation here on Earth. No, not that. Persona 5. That's pretty close.
Persona 5 is a game, and in this game, there are characters. The main character of Persona 5 is Joker. From the beginning, he has a chip on his shoulder. He decides to do the right thing morally and chooses to save a woman from being sexually assaulted by Shido. He is punished for standing up, rebelling against society and the adults who run it. He is punished for acting out justice, in other words. Really, that's what this whole game is about. But the video isn't about Joker. It's about his fanboy, Goro Akechi. Goro Akechi, or simply Akechi, is honestly one of the most important characters in Persona 5. To me, he acts as the second protagonist, the opposite of Joker in many ways, while also being a reality of society at large. Now, Akechi as a character has become pretty contentious in the community, many arguing whether or not he's good or bad, or whether or not his own character conflicts itself. The writers themselves seem to use Akechi as a, representation of a lot of the main themes that you find in Persona 5. Like justice, rebellion, freedom, control, things like that. But they also use him to just, flesh out as a real character and party member. But that's not all. They also flesh him out as a detective who, while not a true antagonist, does frequently criticize the Phantom Thieves.
So to begin my inspection on Akechi, let's talk about his role in the main story and how he serves it.
Akechi is first introduced during the school social studies trip to a TV station. Well, technically he's introduced in this anime cutscene, but this ain't an intro, be for real. Goro Akechi, the high school detective, is the title he's been crowned, and he immediately becomes your opposition by directly calling out the Phantom Thieves. Akechi has qualms with the Phantom Thieves, believing them to be the antithesis of justice. He believes they exploit the human cognition in the form of, stealing someone's heart. Akechi himself believes in a strong sense of justice, much like the Phantom Thieves and Joker himself. Joker and Akechi have a dialogue here at the TV station, and after it, you start Akechi's confidant. Akechi himself finds Joker intriguing as someone who simply just speaks his mind. Now, in the original Persona 5, this confidant is automatic, and I'll get back to why I don't think this works very well once I get further into the video. As the story progresses, you and Akechi form a stronger bond by just simply talking until we reach Sei's palace. Here, Akechi blackmails the Phantom Thieves, forcing them into stealing the heart of Sei, as he believes she's lost the plot. Here, you get to use Akechi in combat, and he's pretty solid. I'll cover the combat side in a little later, Anyways, after all this, Akechi reveals his true identity in Shido's palace. Akechi has been the Black Mask Man that has been roaming the palaces, killing Okumura as well. He also reveals that he is Shido's illegitimate son, with Shido destroying his and his mother's lives, leading to her suicide. He developed a deep loneliness because of this, without a parent or really anybody to care for him in his life. He simply wanted to be loved by anybody, while also being unable to let go of his past and holding a deep hatred for Shido and society as a whole. His whole sense of justice is just a facade, as his true justice is simply based on a rage within him, willing to murder to get whatever the fuck he wants. Anyways, he works for Shido not because he wants to help him, but because he really wanted to get close to him before eventually exacting revenge. But it turns out Shido knew this and was planning on killing Akechi once he served his purpose. This is revealed by his shadow, to which Akechi traps alongside himself to save the Phantom Thieves, realizing they were the true homies all along.
And that's Akechi in the original Persona 5, and
Akechi in the big P5 is simply undercooked. On one hand, he's the other side of justice the game presents. Joker represents the rebellion, breaking through society and taking justice in their own hands, eliminating the evils of the world by changing their hearts. Akechi, or I guess the facade he puts up, is the pacifist side, seeking justice through the means of the legal system, believing no one is higher than the law. No one's belief of justice is better than the others, if that makes sense. Now, I believe this works pretty well as the two sides of the same coin of justice. It makes the two as rivals make a lot more sense as well, as this is something that pushes. The problem is, though, this is just a fucking facade. It's a big ol' hoax. Akechi is just a bitch boy killer. He really doesn't have a sense of justice, being no better than the evil adults in the world to a degree. But the thing is, Akechi's true self isn't really a parallel to the Phantom Thieves or Joker. He's just kind of an evil, more demented version of their own ideals. He does revel, and he does vow to destroy the evil adults and the broken society we live in. He just does it well, casually dropping bodies, collecting urns, crafting graves, killing people. You get the gist. The parallel doesn't work when Akechi really isn't path. The game does try to correct this by having him be allies towards the thieves in the end, but this comes right before he just exits the game and is implied to have passed away. Whatever, it don't fucking matter. And doesn't really feel developed. Akechi just doesn't really work as an opposition to the thieves' ideals when he is neither just nor really the opposite to them. Like I said, he just feels like the fan of thieves, but evil. And if we're considering him as a rival towards Joker, then I don't really think that works either in the original Persona 5. Remember how I said that Akechi's confidant is automatic? Well, this makes the relationship between Akechi and Joker feel so much more forced than it could have been if, he was given a more traditional confidant. It feels like they were limiting the relationship of the two characters by having this confidant be automatic, forcing it to only progress when the main story allowed it, rather than, having scenes of the two simply talking, relating, and being rivals. To me, they feel like co-workers who understand each other, but really, really fucking hate each other's guts.
Akechi in the OG Persona 5 is just kind of a mediocre character, not really fleshed out. But Royal came in and actually did a lot to help his character.
In Royal, they seem to completely abandon the idea of Akechi and Joker being the opposite sides of justice, and rather focus on the connection between them as friends and rivals. The first major change is towards his confidant. Previously, it was automatic, but in Royal it has been changed to be more like the way it should be, by choice. Now the relationship between Akechi and Joker feels automatically less forced because it's now in the player's hands whether or not you actually want to hang out with them. Not only that, but the confidant's content not only fleshes out the friendship between them, but also reinforces the idea of them being rivals with the whole fighting segment. I will say, compared to some other confidants, Akechi's is less of a full character arc and more of a let's just hang out type of confidant. Well, it actually does give him an arc, but technically the ending ranks in the Shido Palace are just like the original version. They're kind of more just story shit, but it's fine. The first, I think it's 8 ranks are different. Really though, the third semester added in Royal is the true difference maker for me. Here, Akechi gets the chance to be the true co-tagonist he was always meant to be. He comes to Joker's aid when they both recognize each other to be the only ones who remember the old reality. Because of this, Akechi lets go of the past beef that they had to team up and save reality. Akechi himself eventually realizes that his own existence in this reality is most likely due to Joker's own cognitive best reality, which, is being brought to life by, Maruki. This is honestly a great way to show how connected the two characters are and helps reinforce their friendship. But even though this reality lets him, be fucking alive, Akechi still rejects it due to him viewing it as being no worse than a slave, as Maruki ultimately controls over the whole reality. Now, after taking out Maruki, Akechi obviously exits out of the game because, well, he's dead as shit. However, if you max out his confidant, you do catch a glimpse of him in the ending, leading to the possibility that he may be alive.
And a possibility that we might still get the 5-hour-long Akechi X Joker sex scene.
Another thing to note is how Akechi basically just goes mask off mode throughout the entire third semester and is just basically a jaded, psychotic comedian. The one-liners and shit talk, bro, they're just fucking peak fiction. Really, overall, Akechi as a character is pretty good and Royal. The identity crisis he had in the OG Persona 5 held him back from being a truly great character, and combined that with a lack of screen time made him feel pretty underdeveloped and honestly a little forgettable. You compare him to the previous kind of twist killer villain, that being Adachi, he didn't even compare to him. But Royal fixed most of the problems, providing a more focused vision on the character alongside a significant increase in screen time. Robbie Daymond also provides some wonderful voice work for the character. Bro really kills it at every second with the character, being easily one of the best performances in the entire game, which is saying a lot because this game has a bunch of great performances.
That's all I really gotta say about his actual character and story stuff. Let's talk about him on the battlefield.
First, how good is he in Robin Hood form? He's good. Not anything super crazy, but he's pretty solid. He reminds me a lot of Naoto from Persona 4, as just like her, he contains both solid physical output and almighty damage. Akechi, however, is definitely worse. He only has Bless and Curse magic without the full coverage of the other elements. But you know what? These elements are rarer than the rest of them, so having a party member that specializes in them is pretty helpful. Also, Debilitate. Cracked! But Akechi in his true form, oh, now we're talking. Rebellion Blade, fucking crazy damage output, and it's almighty damage meaning nothing resisted. Akechi ends up being a pretty frickin' solid party member because the devs just giving him some of the sauciest moves they've ever programmed. And yeah, his voice lines in combat, they make him worth it even if he was fucking completely dog shit.
And yeah, that's Akechi, and he's a good character, I'd say. Pretty valid. I think in the original Persona 5, he wasn't the best, but Royal actually did a pretty damn good job making him an interesting character and separating him from previous villains such as Adachi. Now, I got a, bigger, more full video on Persona 5, I know you want it, but that's coming out in the distant future. So, maybe in that one I'll talk more about Akechi, but, yeah, for now, this is what you get. And one more thing, let's just have a drink to possibly the closest thing we're going to get to a homosexual relationship in a Persona game. Doesn't it taste good?